Hey guys, wow. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to be filming a realistic roleplay video. But before we get started into the actual video, we are almost at 40 subscribers. We just need one more subscriber and we will be at 40. So can you please subscribe? And yeah, that would just mean the world to me if we could get to 40 subscribers. Let's get into the video. Hey guys, so if you guys watched my last video, I got a new horse, and he didn't have a name. He was a gray fjord. He was a gray Norwegian fjord, and he didn't have a name. So after a long time of thinking, we finally came up with a name for him, and his name is Cloudy. So today I am actually going to be doing some riding with Cloudy, and we are going to be doing cross country today with Cloudy. And then another day we will be doing show jumping because Cloudy is good at show jumping and cross country. So we are going to go down to the barn and get him, and we're actually going to trailer him over to Golden Hills. Well, we're not sure if we want to go to Golden Hills or Manor yet because they have some cross country trails at Silverglade Manor as well. And then they also have the riding hall. So I could pick between if I wanted to do jumping or cross country. So this morning I kind of just ran down to the barn like I do almost every morning because it was really cold this morning, but I didn't want to wear a sweatshirt because I knew as soon as I started riding I would get warmer. So I didn't even bother putting on a sweatshirt. So I just was in my t-shirt and I was freezing. So I ran all the way down to the barn to warm up a little bit. And I finally got Cloudy a new halter and shipping boots so we can actually ship him to different places. And as soon as I got to the barn, I walked, and when I said ship him to different places, I mean like we can trailer him to places to do cross country and show jumping. So as soon as I got into the barn, he was just sitting there eating his hay, and I gave him a little pat. Well, I was gonna pat him, but then he put his head down to get a bite of hay, so I let him eat. And this isn't actually his stall. This isn't actually Cloudy's stall. He has a stall in the barn, like in the actual barn where there are the other horses and everything. It's just in the morning, if the stable hands know I'm gonna come down to ride him, they always just put him out here. They just put him out here so it's easier for me, and yeah. So I put on his halter, and then I put on his shipping boots. And I put on his shipping boots because we didn't want him to hurt his legs or whatever while shipping or while in the trailer. So after I put on his halter and I got his shipping boots on, we went over to the trailer and I decided we would go to Silverglade Manor and do cross country, and then another day I will film show jumping with him. And he was definitely very excited. He was definitely very excited to go to different places. He likes going different places, and he's pretty easy with the trailer. He doesn't spook at it or anything. So it's pretty good. And he's been really good with, the trailer and a bunch of things. And we've really not done any cross country or show jumping. It's just been a bunch of flat work and trail rides just to kind of get him used to the place. And yeah. So I loaded him up into the trailer. As you can see, he was doing really good. And yeah, so I loaded him up, and then I had to tie him up to the railing. Sorry about that, guys. I just, I had to get it. So we were going on our way to Silverglade Manor, and I was really excited to do cross country and everything with him because I have never done it with him before, so I figured it would be pretty fun. So I got out of the truck and I came back here to get him, and he was just eating his hay. And he looked pretty excited to be in a new place. And he knew like this wasn't his home. He knew that it was just like, somewhere we were visiting. Guys, it's literally not letting me lead. Hang on. Okay, guys, just pretend that didn't happen. Okay, guys, so it's literally not letting me lead him, so we're just gonna do this and then pretend it never happened. Yay! So after I got him over here and I tied him up, I just brushed him down because he was pretty dusty, and then I picked out his hooves from the trailer, and he was being really good. So then I tacked him up, and I had to get my tack out of the trailer, but we got everything, and I thought for sure I had left something behind, but I didn't, which was good. I had everything and I had all my stuff, so I just put my helmet on and my gloves on, and then I put on his bridle, and we were all tacked up and ready to go. So I was actually really excited to ride him and get out on the trails. And I asked some people about where the trails were, and they said that there were um, 3 different trails you could take, and some of them were harder than others, but just to be careful. And yeah, so there weren't actually 3 separate trails. They all merge into one trail in the end. It's just 2 of them are the same trail, just in reverse, and then the other one is like kind of the same trail, but it goes off a different track. So I decided we'd do an easier one first, and I just walked him around and got him a little bit warmed up before we went out, and then I trotted him here, and someone showed me that if we go down here and then there's a trail just to follow, and I'll come out here, and yeah. So I was actually really excited to do this with him, and we have warmed up a bit. So I brought him up to a canter, and he was trying to rush, but I just made him slow down a bit because I didn't want him to rush on the first jump, and he did that really well. So then I picked him up to a bit of a faster canter, and the ground was very uneven, which made it a lot harder than it should have been, but it's good for him. It's good for him to have to practice on, uneven ground, because not all cross country trails are going to have even ground. And then there was this kind of cliff part, and we just had to make sure not to, get too close to the edge. But we did pretty well. And then we came down here, and I could see a field and everything, but we and he was getting a bit distracted, but I made sure that he was just mostly focused on the trail and what we were doing instead of the field, because I don't want him focusing on other things if I'm trying to get one thing done with him. And like if we were in the field, he should be focusing on the field. But since we're not on the field and we're in the trail, he should be focusing on the trail. And this trail was actually very short and a lot easier than I expected. So we kind of just did this, and then it was really actually easy, and he found it like a piece of cake. So I decided that we could go down to the riding arena and do some jumping instead because he found that one cross country trail really easy. So I decided that for today we could just do jumping, and then another day I'll find some harder cross country trails for him to get used to. And yeah, because we're not going to be showing here, we would be showing at Valedale Lake. We'd be showing at Valedale Lake, Fir Grove, or you know, Golden Hills. But I've heard that the cross country trails at Fir Grove are a little harder. But I decided to just bring him here today because I figured just to warm him up. But I thought they would be a little more hard for him. I thought he'd find them a little harder, but he didn't. He found it quite easy. So I decided we could just do jumping today and then cross country at Fir Grove or Valedale Lake another day. So I walked him down to the jumping arena and then we trotted. And luckily, there was no one there this morning, probably because it was really early in the morning and there weren't a lot of people around. Most people hadn't even gotten up yet this morning. So I just trotted him in and we trotted around warming up a bit. And we didn't do any of the big jumps right away. I know he has done pretty high jumps before. At least that's what his previous owner told me. So, but anyway, I decided just to start with cross rails, just in case he hadn't actually, done higher jumps before. And he did really good on the cross rail, and I trotted him in a little circle here just to kind of keep him, not bored and to make sure he didn't lose interest in everything. So then I trotted him, and every once in a while I'd bring him in a little circle just to make sure he didn't, lose interest in what we were doing. And then I brought him up to a canter and I aligned him for one of the jumps. And now this was a pretty short jump compared to some of the other jumps in the arena. The highest jump had 3 bars and this, and like the plants underneath. And I don't know how we're gonna do that and if we do it today, but for now we just avoided those jumps and did other jumps that I knew he could do and handle. And he did hit that one a bit, but we kept him going. And he was getting into it, and he started, getting a lot more interested in it. And so we started doing flying lead changes over the jumps. Well, not over the jumps, but like we jump, go, flying lead change, and his owner also told me he used to do flying lead changes a lot, and he was used to a lot of things, which he was only 5, but she was right. He was doing really good with all this stuff, and he didn't spook at the jumps. And I was kind of just waiting for him to refuse a jump because I knew it would happen at one point. But I hoped that it wouldn't be too bad if he did refuse a jump, and if he refused a jump, it would probably be one of the really high ones, not one of the smaller ones. And I didn't know if we were actually going to end up doing the high green jumps today, but I just warmed him up over the other jumps first before I did anything else, just because we want him nice and warmed up and ready, but we don't want him, we don't want to go to the big jumps too early because then he might refuse them and that could just end badly. So we did the double and he did really good with that. And then we did a flying lead change and we went over this one. And then I lined him up here for this red one. And then we went over and we did this green and white one. And then we did another flying lead change and went over the yellow one. And I brought him down to a walk and I gave him a little pat. and I told him good boy, and then we just walked up for a minute to kind of get him, to let him catch his breath. And he was doing so good, and I figured we could try the big green ones because we're gonna want to try them with him at one point. Even if he does refuse them, it's still good to try. So after walking him around for a bit, I brought him up to a canter, and I aligned, and I looked at one of the big green jumps, and he decided to buck, which wasn't exactly what I wanted. And then there was someone else in here jumping, so I got out of their way. But he was just bucking, and he wasn't even listening anymore. He just was straight up bucking. And I was not gonna have any of that, so I made him canter, and he bucked again. But no matter what I did, he just kept on bucking. So I stopped him, and I backed him up, and I said no. And then I brought him back up to a canter, and he was fine. So I don't know what that was, but he just had like a really little random crazy sprout. And I aligned him for the big green jump, and he did it, but he hit it. So then I decided we could try the big green jump again, and he refused it. So I backed him up, and he was not really listening all that well, but he just kept bucking, and I didn't want him to like buck near anybody else because I didn't want him to hit them or even be close to hitting them. But he literally just kept bucking, and luckily I stayed on and I didn't fall off of him, but it still wasn't really good that he was bucking. So I finally made him stop, and I brought him over to a corner, and I got off so I could check his saddle, and there was nothing wrong with his saddle. So, and I checked the rest of his tack. And there was nothing wrong with it. So we just kept going, and again, he kept bucking. So I was like, oh, it might be because there's someone else in here. But he's gonna have to learn to, ride with other people. And eventually he calmed down, and we started jumping again. So I'm not really sure what that was. He just had like a little, I don't know. But he is all good now, and we're back to jumping. And now I know he can do the big green jumps, and yeah, so I'm definitely going to be showing him in show jumping, and there actually is a show jumping, there is a jumping show coming up in about a month. So maybe we can go to that, and maybe, just maybe, we can, do something. And again, he started not to listen, but I made him listen until we were done. And we were almost done because we had also done one cross country trail today, and although it wasn't all that hard, it still made him a little bit tired. So I just wanted to finish up this one course with him, and then we could be done. Because I was also kind of tired because we had gotten up really early. So I brought him down to a walk, and I said, good boy. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. I love you guys so much. Bye!